Hi, I'm Londa Schiebinger, coming to you today from Stanford University. Today, I'm pleased to introduce you to Gendered Innovation, a global initiative that develops methods of sex, gender, and intersectional analysis for research and innovation. Gendered Innovations was founded in 2009 and produced through large international collaborations involving more than 200 basic scientists, engineers, and gender experts. The key questions are, can we harness the creative power of sex, gender, and intersectional analysis for innovation and discovery? Does considering gender add a valuable dimension to research? Does it take research in new directions? Importantly, we've just finished Gendered Innovations 2 through an expert group convened and supported by the European Commission over the past 3 years. Please watch for our new report, which will be launched this fall. The European Commission's 5 mission areas support the UN's SDGs, and we have provided analysis of how gender is crucial to their success. Inclusive analysis in the report title means sex, gender, and/or intersectional analysis. This work includes 16 new and revised methods of analysis and 15 new case studies as concrete illustrations of how sex, gender, and intersectional analysis leads to discovery. Our AI-specific methods include analyzing gender and intersectionality in machine learning and also social robotics. Today, I've been asked to speak to you about AI and to consider how gender work in this area supports the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I will talk about our case studies in relationship to 3 goals: good health and well-being, gender equality, which includes gender and intersectional analysis, and also reduced inequalities, or as I prefer to say, enhancing equalities. So let's dive in. By now, we are familiar with how doing research wrong costs lives and money. Programs and engineered systems fail, and fail more often for women and people of color. So let's zoom through these examples. In Google search, men are 5 times more likely than women to be offered ads for high-paying executive jobs. Why is this so? Because the data includes higher pay for men, and the algorithm trying to get the ad to the right person gives ads for high-paying jobs more often to the men than to the women. Image recognition amplifies gender stereotypes. People pictured in kitchens on the internet, for example, are more often women than men in reality. However, take the example of cooking. In the training set, cooking is over 33% more likely to include the picture of a woman than a man. Yet the algorithm amplifies the disparity to 68%. Or in health technology, soap dispensers don't work for people with darker skin. Why is that? Because the near-infrared technology to see the hand, close the circuit, and dispense the soap doesn't work for darker skin. More seriously, heart rate monitors, even Apple Watches, don't work for darker skinned people, which may put them at risk for serious conditions like health disease. And in electrical computer engineering, Nikon camera software is designed not to take a photo if someone is blinking, but it misreads Asian people as always blinking. This from a Japanese company. So each of these examples is important, but what did you notice about them? Each example focuses on only one social dimension in isolation, either gender in Google search or the image recognition, or race with the soap dispensers or cameras. And this is why we need to focus on a higher level problem, intersectionality. What do we mean by intersectionality? Intersectionality describes overlapping or intersecting forms of discrimination related to gender, sex, ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, geographic location, and more. The term was coined in 1989 by legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw to describe how multiple forms of discrimination intersect. Let me show you how this works in work on facial recognition by Joy Buolamwini called Gender Shades. I'd love to show you her video, but we don't have time. It's on the internet. You can find it. It's an excellent teaching tool. In Gender Shades, intersectionality shows how race and gender intersect in a way that facial recognition cannot see Black women's faces. We do the gender analysis and we see that systems performed better for men's faces than women's faces. The race analysis shows that systems performed better for lighter skin than darker skin, but the intersectional analysis shows that systems performed worse for Black women. Error rates were 35% for darker skinned women, 12% for darker skinned men, 7% for lighter skinned women, and less than 1% for lighter skinned men. But there's more. Systems cannot recognize transgender faces, especially during periods of transition. So what if you are a light-skinned man who is transitioning? You are likely not to be recognized by facial recognition systems. Facial cosmetics reduce the accuracy of facial recognition up to 76%. Who knew? Let's take another example that focuses on the intersectional factor of geographic location, and I call this the bride problem. These are images of two brides, one from North America and one from North India. A photograph of a traditional US bride dressed in white is correctly labeled in the data set, bride, dress, woman, wedding. But the photograph of a North Indian bride is labeled performance, red, costume. Now, why is this so? The issue here, as with most of the examples, has to do with biased data. More than 45% of the ImageNet data, which fuels research in computer vision, comes from the United States, even though we are only 4% of the world population. By contrast, India and China together contribute only 3% of ImageNet data, even though these countries represent 36% of the world's population. We need data sets with appropriate geodiversity. Gendered Innovations is solution-based. We had a wonderful workshop in 2018 on gender and fairness in machine learning. Solutions require interdisciplinary teams of computer scientists, lawyers, political scientists, historians, and gender experts to optimize algorithms and guarantee fairness. So we have outlined some of the solutions in our two Nature papers, but you can see already on our website the case study on machine learning, and the one that is coming soon is facial recognition. So let me add, getting the data right and making the technology see everyone is one aspect of the problem, but the larger issue is security. Transgender people, for example, may not want to be tracked by facial recognition systems at all. The potential misuse of facial recognition has led to several actions. Belgium has declared the use of facial recognition illegal. France and Sweden have removed it from schools. San Francisco has banned its use by local agencies such as the Transport Authority or law enforcement. And companies too are pulling back. IBM has left the facial recognition business entirely, and Amazon has halted the police from using its facial recognition technology in response to worldwide protests against systematic racial bias in 2020. Seeking long-term solutions, I want to point out to you the US Algorithmic Justice League has called for the creation of a federal office similar to the US FDA, which regulates drugs, to regulate facial recognition. So you see how intersectional approaches, analyzing how race, gender, ethnicity, geographic location, age, etc. intersect is necessary to support the UN SDGs of gender equality and reducing inequalities. Now let me give one more example in another realm, gendering social robots. I was on sabbatical in 2018 and had several workshops. So believe me, the robots are coming. As population ages, we will need new assistive technologies to care for elderly people, and we also need social robots for autistic children and the like. So robots are designed in cultures alive with gender norms, gender identities, and gender relations. Humans, whether designers or users, tend to gender machines because in human culture, gender remains a primary social category. Are there benefits to tapping into the social power of stereotypes by building gender into robots? For example, if roboticists deploy a female robot in female typical roles such as nursing, do users better comply with the robot's request to take daily medications or to exercise? Perhaps. But there are dangers here. As soon as the user assigns gender to a machine, stereotypes follow. Gendering robots may reinforce gender and racial inequalities by embodying current stereotypes and amplifying these stereotypes into the future. So the challenge for roboticists is to create a virtuous cycle of design. They have the chance to understand gender norms in the culture, to challenge those gender norms, and embody gender norms in robots that promote equality, which will influence users and eventually change the culture. So what, you may ask, genders a robot? How would you read this robot? This is Pepper, produced by the Japanese company SoftBank. So we know that all of these things can gender a robot. Color, for example, if you have a few color cues of pink or black, anyone in Western culture can read the gender of that. Voices are also gendered. Western culture so voices are full of cultural information, and the pitch of the voice indicates whether it's male, female, or a child. Pepper's voice is childish, as are many assistive technologies. A childish voice is perceived as non-threatening. Still, if you listen closely, you can hear that it's a boy's voice, although you can also customize the voice. For robotics, we have a gendered innovation. Q, the genderless voice, was developed in Denmark last year. And we also have a racial innovation that also requires still a gendered innovation. If I had time, I would show you that most of the social robots are default white. White plastic to be sure, but nonetheless white. One solution we discovered is Milo. Milo is the only robot we found available in a variety of skin tones. Milo is designed for learners with autism. And because autism affects boys 4 times more often than girls, perhaps rightly, he's a male. But it would be important to develop a teaching robot for the millions of girls also suffering from autism. So I wanted to cover here also virtual reality to show it how it can be used to enhance health and well-being, but I need to end on time or Elizabeth will have my head. So you can read about this in our new case study. There is much to be done. Researchers need to learn sophisticated methods of sex and gender analysis. Universities need to incorporate these methods into their curricula. Editors of peer-reviewed journals need to use sophisticated sex, gender, and intersectional analysis when selecting papers for publication. Corporations need to integrate these insights into their product design. But eyes have been open, as I hope I've begun to show, gendered innovation sparks creativity and discovery by offering new perspectives, posing new questions, and opening new areas to research. Thank you.